Now we're here.
Did that work?
Yay.
Okay.
Sometimes things just glitch.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we think we're live and we're talking to ourselves, hypothetically. Hypothetically speaking, of course.
And I don't think we've ever been better, unfortunately.
But no one was watching.
No.
But if no one's watching, did it happen?
Well, yes. Right? No.
Yes. Anyway, happy Tuesday. We are here again to talk about news that has happened since yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And also, today's topic is that we are going to talk about why we and other people might prefer Disney cruises over the parks.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to not have to choose, take the best of both worlds. Hannah Montana. But we're going to talk about, if you've never considered cruising, why people do like it, in case you are curious, because we do both a lot. But also, at the end, we will have comments, questions that are submitted while we chat. So if you want to submit, we will get to that at the end. It is also Q&A day on Instagram. So if you want to submit a question or follow along over there, feel free to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We will be answering questions here tomorrow that I cannot get to on Instagram today. It is also podcast day. Every Tuesday, a new podcast comes out. Usually it's a trip report. And this week is with a lovely woman named Jordan, who just took the quickest trip and I think did all of Disney World. She did 3 parks a day for a couple of days and just really fit a lot in.
Oh my gosh.
It's such a great example of how, even when it's busy, as long as you're a planner, the parks are doable. She's very good at it. So listen to that podcast. Also, today's the last day of March. And as we have talked about here before, we did planning sessions in the month of March where people booked an hour with us and we talked through their plans and helped them with their trip itineraries and stuff like that. But now that March is over, we're not doing those, but we're thinking of doing them here on YouTube for anybody that is willing to come on the live video with us and talk through your trip plans. We thought that might be interesting to help somebody as well as publish it so that other people could kind of follow along and maybe learn in the process. So if you want to be on YouTube Live with us, we think we're going to do it on Tuesdays. If we have enough interest, then we can do that with you maybe next Tuesday. So if you could email info@wdwprepschool.com and say that you are interested in being on the YouTube Live to help plan your trip, that would be great.
Yeah.
That's a lot of housekeeping.
That was a lot of housekeeping.
Yes, big list. But we're here. Okay. Are you ready to dive into the first thing on the list? The news.
The news, yeah. Well, it didn't take too long, but it sounds like there are going to be some surcharges being added to reservations for Mears Connect. As everybody is aware, I'm sure gas prices are kind of skyrocketing right now, along with oil prices, and Mears Connect has opted to go ahead and add a surcharge for all reservations. It's sitting at about 3% surcharge, which doesn't equal out to be too much, but it's just something to be aware of, that there will be that added, and it's even if you've already booked.
Yeah. So, as to be expected.
Mm-hmm.
Also, book your flights if you haven't already.
Yeah, most definitely get those flights booked. I have 2 trips where I don't have my flights booked, and now I'm kind of kicking myself, and I'm almost paralyzed on I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to do it. I don't know whether to opt to drive. I don't know. So I need to sit down and really think about it and figure out what I'm going to do. Another thing that's happened recently, and this wasn't just yesterday, but I think it was last week, was that Mickey's PhilharMagic was removed from early entry. Are you surprised?
Would it be rude for me to laugh a little bit?
No.
Who's doing this? Who's doing early entry PhilharMagic?
I don't know.
Like, that's kind of funny, right?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like there probably was not very many people there at all. So it makes perfect sense for them not to have that open during early entry.
Love PhilharMagic. Don't love it during early entry.
Mm-mm. At all. So,
Go visit in the afternoon when you need a little break
yeah.
and a cute little program to keep you entertained.
Yes, and some air conditioning and a seat to sit in.
Yes. Yeah. So not surprised it's removed, but it is removed.
Yep, so that is no longer a part of early entry. Pour one out for PhilharMagic for that.
Okay. Is there any other news today?
I think that's it.
Okay, so that brings us to our main topic, which is reasons that we might like Disney Cruise Line more than Disney World.
Yes.
I will say that this is becoming a popular sentiment amongst people. We are partnered with Small World, and they are the biggest bookers of Disney Cruise Line vacations in the world, and their bookings are way up compared to Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very common thing. I did include a link in the description of this video. If anybody wants to get a quote for a cruise, they do offer onboard credit. So literally, when we get on our next cruise in 2 or 3 weeks, we will have credit on board, so we can spend it however we want, and that's because we book through Small World. So if you would like to do that, feel free. But they are the biggest bookers of DCL, and it's because it's becoming a popular choice compared to Disney World.
Yeah. And I think people really appreciate it for a lot of reasons, which we do have quite a few reasons.
Yes, and big disclaimer, I always called myself not a cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
So not a cruiser, but a Disney cruiser. And so if you've never done it, you might surprise yourself how much you like it.
Yeah.
All right, what's our first item?
The first one is something that's very near and dear to our hearts, and that is less planning stress. Just a Disney cruise requires so much significantly less planning than a trip to Disney World that it can be a great option if you're overwhelmed with thinking about even putting together a Disney World trip.
It is, but if you are a Disney World person and you switch to something else, like Disney Cruise Line or like Disneyland, you might feel like you're forgetting something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what am I supposed to be doing? There's a decent amount to learn just about the different processes, but there isn't a ton to plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be good or bad, I guess. If you want to scratch the planning itch, Disney World is definitely, and it's one of the reasons that we have jobs or why we like planning Disney World trips is that it does give you a lot to do.
Yes. And like you said, that does kind of scratch an itch. But sometimes if you've been doing it for a while, it is nice to have a trip where, especially if you're the one who that responsibility usually falls on, it's nice to be able to go on a trip where maybe you don't have all that.
100%. What's next?
Next, it's just more relaxing overall.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, be power walking 20,000 steps in the heat. You don't, if it's raining, you don't have to go outside if you don't want to. You can stay inside. It makes it a lot more relaxing.
Yes. Disney parks and relaxation don't really go together for most people.
Yeah, at all.
But and also it kind of depends on the itinerary because some of them have a lot of days at sea, so you're really just into the boat, and some are a little bit more adventurous. You're getting off the ship a lot more, but yeah, more relaxing. But it can be busy if you want.
Yeah, yes, you can really kind of customize it, which we're going to go into a little bit more.
Okay.
Another thing is that most of the vacation cost is bundled in. Now, this does not include your excursions, which you can choose to do. And there's a couple, other little things that you can add on to your cruise. But for the most part, you've got your hotel. Your hotel is, part of the price. Your entertainment, your food, all of that is included in the price that you pay up front, which can make it easier to budget.
100%. And if you do Caribbean cruises, they can feel pretty all-inclusive even if you get off the ship because of Disney's islands.
Yes.
Like you get off on Disney's islands and you're still getting food provided to you. You can still enjoy the beach without paying for it, that kind of thing. So Caribbean cruises especially can feel very all-inclusive.
Yes, agreed. And We have found that Disney cruises in particular are better for groups.
Yes, this is another on our list is groups. Our next trip is with about 25 people, and I'm not doing that at Disney World.
Mm-mm.
Like doing a group trip to Disney World, very difficult. First of all, Disney World doesn't make it easy to coordinate it. I don't know. It's just complicated. But for cruises, it's great, and it's because I think everyone can make it whatever they want. So we talked about it being relaxing, or it could be busy, and people in the
Mhm.
group can do as much or as little as they want, and then everyone can have dinner together.
Yeah. Yes. And I also think it's not just for like a group of like size-wise, but multi-generational.
Different ages.
I
Yes.
think that it really caters to those kinds of group dynamics too, where you have people who are wide, different variety of ages. Um, there's something for everyone, as much or as little as they want.
And for anybody that's watching live, if you found that you like Disney cruising, I'd love to hear why. But let's keep going. We have quite a list.
Yes. There's no ride strategy required.
Mm.
And so we kind of touched on this with the whole planning aspect, but just when you're in the park and you have to figure out, like, are you going to rope drop? What are you going to do first? Where are your lightning lanes? If a ride goes down, what are you going to, replace it with? How are you going to fit lunch in? Is your reservation going to work with your plans for the day? Like, you don't have to think about any of that.
Mm-mm. Have you seen the coaster on the new Disney Adventure ship?
Yes. Yes. There's a little bit of a ride thing there, but it's not the same. Not the same. It's not
It's
like
not
going to
this.
the park.
It's not the same, but it is a ride that is on a cruise ship.
Yes. Yes. Next up, the ships feel more contained and manageable than navigating the 4 parks, 2 water parks, and a shopping area of Disney World.
Like a small town.
Yes. Small town where everything is right there.
Yes. Especially on the smaller ships, but
Mhm.
feels true. You run into people everywhere.
Yes. Um, Next up, the service level. It's really good on Disney Cruise Line. The service level, it feels higher. It feels stronger. It feels better. I don't know.
Generally speaking,
Mhm.
I will say one little caveat, when they bring new ships on board, sometimes they can have growing pains. But ultimately, I think the goal is to have good service all around.
Yeah. Um, and that's not to say that you don't get great service in the parks. So if you've had great service in the parks, imagine that, but like plussed. Like
No, but the parks rely so heavily on the Disney College Program, and
Mhm.
Disney College Program participants are only there for a semester. So you don't get people with years of experience.
The way you do on a
It's
ship.
it's not the DCP kids' fault, but they
Mm-mm.
just literally are only there for a few months. Whereas on the cruises, usually they're there for years.
Yeah. Yes. Um, no buses when you're on a ship. Like
You hate a bus.
I hate a bus, and I don't know why. I have never had an awful time on a Disney bus. There's just something about the hurry up and wait aspect of transportation, during the day when you're at Disney World, that just drives me nuts. I just wanna walk up, get in a car and drive away, but I don't wanna drive myself to the parks, which is why I do find myself in using Lyft a lot.
I hate a car the way you hate a bus.
Ah,
They're just not charming. Like every other kind of transportation to me is so much more charming, but except for a car.
car. But
But
I don't like waiting in line for
yes.
for a bus, especially if, the park has been busy. I just wanna go. I just wanna go.
And none of that is required once you're on the ship.
No.
The only transportation you have to worry about is boat.
Mhm. Just your boat. Um, it feels, I think, if Disney Cruise Line, compared to the parks, feels a little bit more premium.
Mhm.
And it's when you're on the ship, it's very immersive. It's like everywhere. And of course, when you're in the parks or you're in your resort, yes, you're immersed in Disney magic there too. But there's just something about being on the ship where it's everywhere and you're there for most of the time, except for on port days. You're just totally immersed in the Disney stuff.
And upscale
Mm-hmm.
feels very upscale in that way.
And more intimate.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a more intimate connection to the Disney stuff when you're
Mm-hmm.
on a cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this next one is a great one too. The food is easier.
Much easier and included
Mm-hmm.
most of it.
You don't have so many decisions to make regarding where you're going to eat because those decisions are mostly made for you.
And it's unlimited.
Yes, yes. So there, you don't have to get up early, 60 days out to book your table service restaurants for an entire vacation. You don't have to pay for every snack or meal throughout the day. You're just going where they tell you to because Disney uses rotational dining for your big meals and your other meals. You've got, buffet or other little grab and go places. So definitely a lot easier.
Much easier. And sometimes with entertainment,
Yes.
like a Tiana's themed restaurant or Animator's Palette that has Mickey coming through, Sorcerer
Mhm.
Mickey. So sometimes it's both.
Yes, you get a lot of good stuff there. Another big draw for the cruise line, for Disney Cruise Line in particular, is the Broadway style shows. They're entertainment.
Mi favorito. I'm a huge fan of live performances, and I think the Venn diagram of Broadway lovers and Disney cruise lovers is a big overlap,
Hmm.
which is why the Broadway series being on the Disney cruise ships makes so much sense. So they actually have Broadway stars that come onto some of the cruises and perform.
Hmm.
And I think if you like live performances, that you're going to love it. And I will say, if you're used to cruising other cruise lines, usually the other cruise lines will have different amenities. Like I'm sure they have shows and stuff, but
Hmm.
they have like casinos and that kind of stuff. Whereas Disney Cruise allocates more space to shows.
Yes. Yes. And there's space to shows and then to something else on the list, which is their kids clubs.
Yes. Yes. Parents can have their kids go to the kids clubs.
Yes, and that can be a big game changer for families who want a family vacation, but they also want some time, or they know their kids are going to want some time away from them. So they get there, and those spaces for the kids are really cool and fun. And, adults will tour them and see them and be like, I wish I could hang out here. But it gives the kids a really good spot to get their own little vacation too.
They sometimes get their own character meets.
Hmm.
They have the coolest little water a sink to place to wash their hands. It's really cute. The kids do have to be willing to go. So it's
Yes.
not like daycare where you just drop them off and you go, okay, I got to go to work. The kids have to willingly go. But
Yes.
if they want to willingly go,
Uh-huh.
then it's a chance for parents to go do something
Yeah.
without kids.
Yes. Which isn't for adults. There are built-in adult spaces. Now, different classes of ships have different levels of what the adult spaces are like, but all of the ships do have spaces that are supposed to be for adults only, including pools and dining, like lounge areas.
Yeah, there's the newest class of ships, the waste class of ships is the least adult friendly. It's more family friendly with young kids because the pool area is smaller and the adult entertainment spaces aren't as enclosed or private.
Hmm.
But they exist. And then on all the other older ships, they have big pool areas and a private. To me, it feels like walking into a portal. There's like a doorway that you walk into the adults only area, and I feel like I'm going into a portal that is going to be child free for the evening.
Yes, which is really nice.
It is really nice because if you want to tell dirty jokes, use certain words, whatever, I feel like that's a good area.
Not us. We would never do that.
I might have gotten upset with the guest one time for bringing their kids in the adults only area.
Yeah,
Might have that happen.
that's why there's signs up. It's easier to unplug on a cruise.
It is. We're not on our next cruise in April. We're going to attempt to not get Wi-Fi,
Yes, that's a big one for us.
but that only works if we can still have some sort of a cell connection because we do tend to work during our cruises.
Yeah, so, um, but if you don't have to work, there's a lot less pressure to squeeze everything out. You don't have to optimize every minute, and it makes
Mhm.
it easier to just, like, enjoy yourself and to be present and not be thinking about what you have to rush to next.
I think a lot of people that work a lot will enjoy cruises because they can just tell their work, I'm on a cruise, I don't have a connection. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, you can buy it, but you don't have to. And so then it just feels like a better like boundary.
Mhm.
Like I can't check my emails. Not going to work.
Yeah. For real. This next one, deals again with how things are all inclusive, and it's the fact that you don't have to purchase lightning lanes, you don't have to, um, figure out how that's going, like park hoppers, like things that you're adding to your ticket. And I would like to do like a full comparison sometime and see exactly where that is, that point where if you're a family of 4 and you're buying lightning lanes every day and single passes every day, what's the cost difference between that and a cruise? Especially once you add in food and stuff. I don't think it would probably be that far off, especially if you're doing one of the shorter cruises.
Yeah, let's do the math.
Yeah, I really think it's gonna be quite comparable. Um,
Hmm.
next, you still get all the character fun, and it can feel a little bit easier to access.
I was going to say even better character
Mhm.
fun. I often think this on cruises. People that love characters freaking love the cruises because they're everywhere and pretty easy to meet. And when they're not meeting, they're walking around.
Yeah.
Like I because I do YouTube videos about cruising a lot, I end up going through my camera roll looking for footage. And I come across so many videos of us just like seeing Ariel walking down the hallway, seeing Belle go up the steps, and
Mhm.
they're just there. They're
They're
just
just there.
everywhere. And
Yeah.
I love that.
It's fun. So if you're a character person, they can feel a little bit easier to access. Um, shorter cruises can feel like a complete trip versus if you do like a 2 or 3, well, I guess you wouldn't do a 2-day cruise, but like a 3 or 4-day trip or night trip to Disney World, that might feel like you're rushing because there's, the 4 parks and whatnot. But if you do a 4-night cruise, that can feel like a complete trip.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because if you go to Disney World and you know that there are like the 4 parks and each
Mhm.
park has all of these things that are must-dos, that it can be really difficult to accomplish all that, and we talk about that a lot, that you can't see and do everything, but it's still that natural inclination, right, to try to see and do everything, and you can't do it, but on a cruise, it's you're seeing and doing everything because it's packaged that way, that's what it
Mhm.
is.
Mhm. Yeah, you can. I think that if it's your first cruise, we would generally recommend at least a 4 or 5 night, just
Mhm,
so that you can kind of get settled, get to know the ship, especially the bigger ships, because they take a little while to get to know the way around. And that way you feel like you've had time to know your way around and just be calm.
mhm,
Because there's a lot of activity on embarkation, disembarkation, but it's the days in between where things can be just kind of chill.
yeah. Um, Another one that is near and dear to, I think, both of our hearts is doing a Disney cruise can be really good for people who are getting burnt out on the parks. If you still love Disney, but you're tired of the crowds or the parks or the heat or whatever, fill in the blank, whatever reason that's got you frustrated, the prices and the add-ons, it lets you scratch that Disney itch without having to go into the parks.
100%. I feel like it's rejuvenated me personally. Like after talking about Disney World stuff for so long, I'm like going into Disney cruise territory just feels like a new twist.
Mhm. It's fun. It's nice to stay connected to something that we love without it feeling so as much as like work, which I think is what kind of happens for us. This one in particular is for the Caribbean cruises, but the private islands,
Mhm.
which, as you said earlier, those can be a big selling point, not only because they're fun and they offer a lot of stuff to do, but because they are basically an extension of the cruise ship itself. You're not paying anything extra for your excursions unless you want to. Like, you don't have to. You can go and enjoy the beach and do all the things on the beach without paying anything extra, which
Mhm.
is nice, including the food
And childcare.
and childcare.
Yep, that is nice.
Yeah. Um, and then the value aspect. And this is something that I think is personal because it's Disney cruises are not cheaper or not always cheaper, but sometimes you might feel like it's more worth it because the experience, you're getting a better maybe value for your dollar.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I know that Disney cruises aren't cheap,
Mhm.
but very high quality.
Yes. And something else that we've talked about a lot, another reason you might like Disney Cruise Line more than the parks, is that you get to see the world outside of the parks.
Yeah, I will say this is one of my personal things that I am obsessed with because a lot of people that like Disney parks trips, they only take their vacations to the Disney parks. Like the only place they ever go is Disney World, and that is not me. I really like the world. So do you.
Mhm.
And so we like to go other places. We like to do other things. And Disney Cruises let us do both.
Mhm.
So you can get off on different islands, go to different places. Um, and there's so many itineraries that you can kind of pick a place. Yeah, I'd like to see Norway.
Yeah.
Okay, well, guess what? There's a Disney cruise that goes there.
Yes. Especially if it's something where you feel comfortable with Disney. And I think a lot of
Hmm.
families do feel that way, that they've had good experiences and they feel comfortable with the brand itself
Hmm.
and safe with the brand itself. So booking something with Disney that lets them go out and explore almost the world now with their new ships that they've got going on. That is a nice aspect of it. Um, in addition, another thing that is near and dear to my heart is that there is more built-in downtime on a cruise than there is on a park trip, I think. That there is more time to just stop and smell the roses. It's easier to do that, I think, than it is when you are uh, visiting the parks. There's more
Hmm.
spots where you can go and just relax. Like when we're at Disney World and it's time to just, have some bed rotting time. Of course, you go to the room and you can bed rot, right? But when you're on a cruise ship, you could go to your cabin and bed rot, or you could go find a quiet deck and, sit outside in the sun and rot out there and not see hardly any people, or go someplace where it's a little bit more busy and just chill. It's easier
It
to have that
is.
have that downtime.
It is. I brought a game on one of our group cruises, and we all played a game, sitting in the pool and chatting, yapping.
Mhm.
My favorite thing to do. Yes, so many options.
Yep. And finally, nicer guests.
The people are nicer than in the parks, usually. You're going to read about stories here and there about bad guest behavior everywhere, but in general, cruisers are nice. And I will say specifically, I cannot prove this, but it is my opinion that Disney cruise dads are the best dads
And why?
because they get into it. Right? They're not wearing the most expensive day ever shirts. They're not negative, very fun. I took pictures with permission on our last cruise, and it was like this guy with a fun hat that was shaped like the castle, and when you push the button, it played happily ever after. Or there's shirts that are like, "I'm so happy to be here," like just like the opposite of what you often see in the parks. Disney cruise dads are the best.
They're the best. Yeah.
Yes, and the guests are generally so nice and inclusive. I enjoy the inclusivity.
Agreed. Agreed. And I love me some Disney parks. I love them all. But when I'm looking for Disney and a vacation, that's something that's more relaxing.
Mhm.
the cruises.
So we will be going on one in a couple weeks out of Baja and going to Catalina Island, Ensenada, Mexico, and then afterwards taking the Amtrak up to Disneyland.
Which is quite fun.
Yeah, we've never done this combo before.
Mm-hmm.
We've only done Florida, where we took the train to Disney World from Fort Lauderdale. But anyway, this will add a new port to our list too, because we've been out of several ports on Disney cruises.
Mm-hmm.
All right, is that the end of the list?
That is the end.
All right. Well, we do have some comments and questions. Alyssa says, "Hi, friends." Hi, Alyssa. Ranger Kyle says, "Super bummed about PhilharMagic news. Devastated. LOL." Aaron says, "Oh, live trip planning support. I love that idea." So if you weren't here at the beginning, we are going to be taking submissions to do live trip planning with us on YouTube, probably on Tuesdays. Travel Tuesdays. What are we going to call it? Trip planning Tuesdays, something like this. But basically, we had private planning sessions in March, and those were just one-on-one with individuals. But to take it to a more public level, we could do it for no cost, but on YouTube, so that we can work through your plans and other people can benefit. Mercedes says, "I hate buses too." Aaron, DCL shows are amazing. Yes. They made me cry, very often. They are so, so good. Jeff says, on DCL, the service and food are amazing, great entertainment options as well. Mm-hmm. And then we have Lane who says, "I'm scared of a Disney cruise because what if we like it too much?"
Oh, a good chance.
But that seems like a good risk we're taking. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go on this date. What if I like them too much? I don't want to try this food. What if I like it too much? Then you just get to keep enjoying that. That's okay. Keep eating that food. Keep going on those cruises. I will say, where there's a will, there's a way. Because although Disney cruises, for instance, can be quite expensive, we've just sort of figured out ways to do it, And it's okay. It's okay. Fun thing to look forward to. Okay. All right. So today is Q&A day on Instagram. So I'm going to be over there answering some questions. Oh, by the way, Lane says I can't afford to like it that much. Head over to Instagram and submit a question if you would like. And we will be here tomorrow to answer any questions that didn't get answered on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for now. We'll be back tomorrow.
Bye.